What's that? A hat? Crazy, funky, junky hat, overslept, hair unsightly, trying to look like Keira Knightley. We've been there, we've done that, we see right through your funky hat.
Welcome back to the Wizards Lair podcast, where we break down every episode of Wizards of Waverly Place. This is episode 4. I'm Daphne, and I'm with my husband Xander. Today we're talking about season 1, episode 4, called New Employee.
Absolutely. So thank you everybody for listening as we break down another episode. We're glad to have everybody listening. So as my wife said, this is going to be episode 4 of Wizards of Waverly Place. We just watched it, so it's fresh in our heads. We love to sit back and watch Wizards and then immediately get right into it, breaking it down. We hope that you'll join us in our series breakdown. And just to give everybody kind of an overview of this episode and what happens. So Harper and Alex, in an effort to spend more time together, decide that Harper should work at the substation, and Teresa and Jerry reluctantly agree, thinking that, all may go well, or at least it may be something.
They might get some more time off with extra help, that she might actually be a helpful employee.
But in classic teen sitcom fashion, things go awry. Harper does not turn out to be the best employee.
No.
Alex, quote-unquote, fixes her with magic. We'll get to that later. They get in a fight. Actually, I think it's their first fight that we see in the series.
Yeah, first big one, definitely.
Their first fight, so we see them kind of work through that. And we actually have a subplot, too, that involves Justin and his tutoring, I don't know if it's called business, but
it almost becomes a little bit of a business. He's kind of tutoring all the jocks.
Yeah, and it's almost like a turf war that happens with another local rival tutoring business.
I love it.
So we'll get into that. But anyway, so how are you feeling about this episode? We've only done 4 so far, so is this one of your favorites so far?
This is a great episode. I would say it's one of my favorites so far. The only thing that doesn't quite make it a favorite is Max is not in this one at all, which made me sad.
You know what? That is very true. I noticed that, and this is actually the only episode in season 1 where Max is absent in. So
the only one? Oh, that is interesting.
That's a really good call, yeah.
I definitely noticed it, because he always comes in with those really funny random one-liners, and I did miss that. But overall, it was a great episode. We got some new magic, couple of new but temporary characters.
Yep.
And our favorite recurring character, which we'll get to here in a minute.
Absolutely. So what should we talk about first?
So, if we just start at the beginning, that first scene with Justin, and I think his name is Brian, the jock that is kind of asking him to tutor him. That whole scene was really funny because, first of all, Brian said he only got one question on the test right, and it was his name.
Dang.
And so he wants Justin to tutor him, which at first he says no to, but then he says that he can pay him with tickets for Tears of Blood.
Yes.
Which sounds like a super metal band,
yes,
but Justin was so into it.
I think this is the first time that we hear about T.O.B.
T.O.B.
Maybe it's not. I'm not sure, but I know it comes up later on. But yeah, I'm into heavy metal, and I've always wanted to know what Tears of Blood sounds like.
Because it does sound like it would be metal, but I also don't... It is?
It is.
Oh, wait, is that the same one from later in the show?
There is an episode at some point, I forget which one it is off the top of my head, but I know there's an episode where there's a girl that comes into the substation that Justin kind of hits it off with and thinks that he might have a shot with.
Yeah.
And she invites him to go to Tears of Blood, but in reality, she's asking him to babysit.
Oh,
so he shows up ready to go, and she answers the door wearing her Tears of Blood shirt. She's dressed up like, what a metalhead might look like.
Yeah.
I think at one point we even see a poster of Tears of Blood in Justin's room.
That's great. I love that.
But as far as I know, this might be the first time we hear about Tears of Blood. But I love the fact that they're kind of alluding to metal because, like I said, I'm a huge metal fan. So.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me to think of Justin Russo listening to metal. I get, honestly, Harper liking metal makes more sense to me than Justin. And we do get a taste of that later on in the series.
Just remembering that you said Harper, I was like, you're actually hitting the nail on the head because Harper does.
She's got some inner demons.
And that's what's good about metal is that it lets you get that out.
Yes.
But going back to Tears of Blood, see, immediately makes me think of the Slayer song Raining Blood.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea where the writers got Tears of Blood or where it comes from, or if it's just made up.
It's a great band name. I can't believe it's not already a band name.
Well, I hope that...
It seems so obvious.
If there was ever a Wizards, reboot, not a reboot, but like if they ever,
like a reboot.
A revival, yeah. If they were to ever do something like that, I think it'd be hilarious if within the show we either see Tears of Blood live or there's somehow a mentioning of their like reunion tour or their comeback tour. Because in the episode, Justin, as soon as he hears it, he's like, "Oh yeah, their new tour is awesome."
Yes.
So they must have a really good stage show. They must have a really good album, whatever it is. But yeah, no, that's a really good point because Tears of Blood is mentioned a few times, and I'm always like, oh man, I wish there was like a song that they would have just made for the show.
Just so we know what they sound like.
Just to know what they sound like. Because I'm like, what kind of metal is it realistically? I mean, Tears of Blood to me, that sounds like it could be either like a death metal band or maybe one of those like...
more emo.
More of those more emo bands because this was like 07.
I could see Justin listening to some emo music.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like you said a minute ago, Justin, it's kind of odd that he would listen to metal music. And I think that's kind of his way of like... forcing himself to be cool.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
He's trying to because in that same episode that I was mentioned earlier where we see that poster in his room, I think he's trying to be cool and ends up actually being scared being alone in his room because of that poster, because of some of the things.
You're right.
So it's ironic how much he says he likes it, but does he really when push comes to shove? I don't think so.
That's so interesting.
But it's funny because, let's see, we've met Miranda.
Yes, and she was... We don't know what she listens to, but she definitely had a more edgy
Did she?
goth vibe.
Maybe she mentioned... I don't know. We'll have to go back.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and check that.
Maybe she mentioned Tears of Blood in the one...
That kind of sounds
First
familiar.
Kiss. Because we've already seen her in First Kiss.
Right.
We know she comes back in the episode Pop Me, We Both Go Down.
Yes.
I know she comes back in that one. And those were filmed out of order. Or at least they were aired, out of order.
Yeah, the story is out of order at least.
But
it makes no sense.
I think that Justin probably likes Tears of Blood because of Miranda.
Yeah.
He likes Miranda and he wants to like the things that Miranda likes because he thinks that Miranda is like really cool and out of his league, which most people would agree that she is, but that's where I'm thinking he gets that from.
That's great. So another one of my favorite parts of this interaction at the beginning of the episode is kind of when Brian's about to walk away from this whole conversation about tutoring and is getting kind of embarrassed, and so he says, "Hey, if any of my friends ask you, I was beating you up for talking to my girlfriend."
Yeah.
And Justin's response is, "Well, if any of my friends ask you, your girlfriend actually talked to me."
That's so
I
good.
love.
What a great delivery from David Henry.
Yes, absolutely.
That was the opening scene, right? That's how it opens.
I think still at the school, though, within the same scene, we finally get our first rendition of the Funky Hat song, which you heard at the beginning of this episode.
We hear it, and we hear it 3 times in this episode.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is
3 full times, and then a few little
mentions
ones.
of it. But it's funny because we're 4 episodes in. This is the first time we hear it, and we hear it 3 times. It's almost like the writers in Disney are trying to like hammer it in that this is like their thing.
This is their thing.
They've always done it.
It really doesn't come up that many other times in the show, does it?
We get it, I think, maybe 1 or 2 more times in a couple episodes, but it really doesn't continue on throughout the series.
It's the most dense in this episode.
Yeah, well, it's like they're trying to really hammer it in that this is like almost like their secret handshake, you know? Because it was like a thing on Disney and maybe Nick too, where like everybody had like their secret handshake. I'm thinking of Zach and Cody, where like the I or whatever, their secret handshake, and so this is just their version of a secret handshake, but it's their little song or whatever.
Right.
But no, I think the reason why it ended up not continue on is because, I'll be honest, it does not roll off the tongue.
No, it doesn't. It's really hard to say.
It's very hard to say, and I'm like, did Keira Knightley have like amazing hair? Like,
I mean, she's known for being beautiful, but I don't know if her hair was like
it just fit
a
the
big
rhyme.
Part of it.
It's just that Knightley rhymes with unsightly,
I guess,
and it just fit.
Yeah,
they probably like wrote it in like 5 minutes.
It's iconic though.
It is. It actually, no, you're right. For it only being in the series for like a few episodes, it has become its own thing because as soon as you mention Wizards to, a Wizards fan, that's like the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
And then even, I think, didn't Jennifer and Selena both do like a throwback to that in some video?
I think so, yeah.
Not like a TikTok or a Vine or something like that, but I think they did do like a throwback to that. And it's funny because, it is kind of iconic in its own right.
Definitely.
So that's when we move to the substation and we get into the main plot of the episode where Alex and Harper want to see each other more and hang out more, and so they get the idea to work together.
Right.
And Jerry and Teresa reluctantly agree, and
madness ensues, basically.
Madness ensues, yeah. So Harper ends up not being the best, which, come on, she can't even grab a basket and bring it to the table.
Bad. It's really bad.
It's like Harper hasn't worked at all a day in her life.
She kind of just trips over air and spills everything on everyone.
Which obviously is just part of the writing and part of the character.
Oh, yeah.
But it's funny, like, if you were to be Jennifer Stone, like, how do you act that out? Like, how do you suck that bad on purpose?
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because we've actually been kind of catching up on Jennifer Stone and David DeLuise's new Wizards podcast that kind of started around the same time as ours did.
Ours was first.
Yeah, ours was first, technically.
we are the first. We're not an official, or even like we don't have any official cast members, but we were the first Wizards podcast.
That is true. But theirs is awesome, and so you should definitely check that out as well.
Agreed.
But it's been interesting to hear them talk about getting into this show because Jennifer mentioned that she wasn't, much of a comedy actor before this. And so she was much more serious and wasn't used to all of the comedy, especially all this physical comedy. And this episode was very heavy on the physical comedy. Like, her and David, honestly. Because constantly, there's a whole montage of it, actually, of Harper messing up and spilling food on Jerry like 5 times in a row. It's hilarious. And so it's interesting to know that background, that she's new to doing all this, zany physical comedy, but she's great at it. I was laughing the whole time.
A great montage and more great comedic acting from David DeLuise, who I will forever praise. He's like the best TV dad.
Yeah, he really is.
He killed that role.
Also found out from their podcast that he was only 35 when this show started.
Yep.
So technically, he's playing an older character, but he would have been too young to have kids that age.
He would probably have been like 15, 16 when he had Justin.
Yes, exactly. And so it's so interesting to me, like, looking now as adults ourselves that, are only a few years off of that age to see that he was so young.
Crazy.
One of the other great things about this whole substation scene was Harper's outfit. We always like to comment on Harper's style because she's a style icon.
She's the fashion girl, yeah.
But she came in to try and convince Teresa and Jerry to hire her with this homemade sandwich shirt.
Yeah.
And she also had French fry earrings and a little cheese and lettuce and mayonnaise headband as well. So some more unique homemade Harper fashion.
Yeah, she definitely wanted that job.
Yeah.
And she got the job.
She did.
But, like we mentioned, it did not go well, so Alex, in an attempt to fix her, casts the serving wench spell, which is take this girl with the skills of a bench and turn her into a serving wench. And then, of course, with that, there's a counter spell. Take this girl who's a great serving wench and give her back the skills of a bench. I love that, the skills of a bench.
A bench.
A bench. You got nothing.
I love it.
No skills, Harper. And, of course, yeah, that does help the situation a lot.
Yeah, makes her good.
All of a sudden, she's serving plates at the speed of light. She's tossing them out in the air.
It's crazy. And are we counting that as magic exposed? Because that scene was wild. She was throwing plates from the kitchen, the window in the kitchen, all the way across the restaurant to somebody's table.
Yeah, and the plates just stopped without continuing with their motion. It totally broke Newton's laws, but I don't know if that was magic or if just Disney logic.
Yeah,
I think that was just
I
dumb.
can see your point there.
I think that was just dumb Disney logic.
Yeah, but if that's the case, wouldn't we apply that same thing to the first time that we counted magic exposed, of when Alex was spinning in circles at the 10-minute sale? I guess it could be interpreted either way, but I guess since it's towing the line, we'll go with no this time.
Yeah, we are still at 1 as far as the magic exposure counter, which we are keeping track of.
Right. We're only 4 episodes in, and it gets much worse later.
Yeah, blatant exposures of magic.
Yeah.
So far, we're only at 1, which was from episode 1, when Alex turns into a tornado in the middle of Suburban Outfitters. But no, I don't think this one is... I do think that obviously her her skills as a quote-unquote serving wench were enhanced by magic.
Right.
But I think her just tossing the plate and the plate suddenly stopping without continuing on with its original motion, I think that's just dumb Disney logic.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't think that was part of the magic.
So during all of this, while Harper and Alex are, dealing with their situation, at the same time, Justin is also at the substation and who's tutoring all his new jock students.
Yep.
And we get introduced to a new character, Frankie.
Frankie.
Who's this weird little mobster kid who's apparently a tutor on the block and is not appreciating the threat of another tutor. And he is hilarious.
He was. He is great. And I think we do see him in a couple more episodes, at least one.
Oh, okay.
But as far as I know, this is the first time that we meet little Frankie, and he is great.
Yes.
Yeah, he does have it has a New York kind of mobster, gangster sort of vibe.
It's hilarious.
And takes his tutoring business very seriously. So Justin's just here to help the nation's youth, if you will.
Yes.
And Frankie's looking to make, a lot of profit. So there becomes this like turf war, if you will. And Frankie demands that Justin pays him 25%
yeah, of
his bidding of his business, which of course is ridiculous. I don't even think Justin's making money off of it.
Yeah.
The only thing we know he's getting
tickets.
is tickets.
Yeah.
Exactly. So who knows if he's getting any compensation from anybody else? But no, it's funny because by the end, Frankie has his quote-unquote enforcers that he has and that are going to, I guess, beat up Justin. I don't know. Justin luckily has his jocks on his side, the underachievers. And I thought that scene was really funny at the end when, one's chasing the other.
Yes.
It was just...
It's gold.
It was comedy.
More good physical comedy, absolutely.
So now that Harper has her improved serving skills, it starts to come between the two because now that Alex has convinced her parents to put Harper in charge and they can, go off and do whatever, Alex thinks that, Harper and her can just go do whatever and not have to work as hard.
Right, just have fun. Close early, I think, is what she wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not New Harper. New Harper says that she has to be in at 5 a.m.
Yes,
because of the increased orders,
Yep.
the breakfast orders. Alex is like, I don't think so. And Harper actually has the audacity to say that if she doesn't come in, that she's fired. Which, Alex, why did you not take that deal? You hate working at the substation.
That's so true, and I doubt you get
hate
paid.
working. Season 3, Alex would go, okay.
Yeah.
and flash out.
That's so true.
Season 3, Alex would be flashed out.
I think it was more the principle of getting, quote-unquote, fired from her family's business that really upset her.
You're absolutely right.
She's like, you can't fire me. I fire you. It's my family's business. And she's like, well, they put me in charge, so...
You're absolutely right.
So the whole thing blows up, and basically, Alex tries to fire Harper, and Harper fires Alex as her friend. So they have a little bit of a friend breakup moment. It's not good.
Yeah, that's one of them. That's not good.
I know. I hate when they fight.
And Harper goes to work at what, Gert Barn?
Yes.
That's
Gert Barn.
That's her. Yeah, her plan B is to go work at Gert Barn. And Justin is the one who informs us. He says, "Hey, when I was getting chased, is that right? When he was getting chased by the enforcers or whatever, he was like, or no, was it the jocks or the enforcers?
Enforcers.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
was getting chased by the enforcers. He goes and hides into the Gert Barn and realizes that Harper's working there, and then goes to tell Alex. And then Alex and Justin go to kind of check in on Harper, if you will. And there she is, doing great. She ends up becoming Employee of the Month.
Yes.
And who do we get to meet? Amanda Tepe, right? That's her name, Tepe.
Yes, we love her. And what was awesome this time is that we noticed her name tag actually said Amanda this time.
Correct.
So we're going to have to pay attention and see if, when she comes up again, if she's still named Amanda or if she has different names. But
yeah, I've tried to pay attention to her name tags, and I haven't really noticed any of them that has a name.
Not yet
that I know of, but this one actually did say Amanda. So Amanda Tepe's character is named Amanda, at least in this episode.
Yeah.
We're still going with the idea that this is all the same person. We saw her in episode 1 as the manager of Suburban Outfitters.
Yes.
And then we even saw her in the last episode, right?
Yeah, at the fancy restaurant.
She
the
was
chocolate fountain place. Yeah.
Medium rare.
Medium roar, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, she was the the
hostess.
The hostess.
Yeah.
So 3 out of 4 episodes so far.
That's
Amanda
crazy.
has been in.
She's the star.
She is the star.
She's been in just as many episodes as Max Russo so far.
You're right. She should be in the intro at this point. Like,
yeah, she should.
It's a shame that
just in the background though, like
that'd be hilarious.
like a little Easter egg.
Yeah, her deadpan look, because her deadpan
she's so funny.
Delivery is what makes the character so great. Just her face.
Yeah. Just
every muscle relaxed, and her deadpan delivery. What did she say
I'm
about?
trying to decide if I want to save this to be my quote or not.
Ah, for sure.
But
okay.
I have 2 quotes I'm trying to decide between, so I gotta think real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
So this was definitely a runner-up for my favorite quote of the episode, but I ended up going with another one, so I'm just gonna say it. But yeah, Amanda says to Harper, even though she's just started working at this place like the same day, I think, right?
Right.
She says, "Congratulations, you're Employee of the Month. As soon as I get some photo paper, go home, hook it up to my printer, print it, bring it back here, I'll pin it up."
Yeah.
That's so good. And I do not deliver it the same way that Amanda Tepe does, but you need to go back and rewatch that scene because it is gold.
So good. So like we said, Alex and Justin are there, and Alex's grand plan is to just remove the spell that she put on Harper and quote-unquote give her back the skills of a bench.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of serving an order, which of course goes everywhere. And then I think the machine ends up breaking, the yogurt machine ends up breaking.
We just have like frozen yogurt just coming
going
out
everywhere.
Onto the floor, making a mess. She can't figure out how to turn it off.
And Justin drops a good bit of wisdom because he's like, "Really? That was your plan? That was your grand plan?" She goes, "Well, I just want her to be my friend." And he goes, "Okay, well, if you want her to be your friend, you need to be a friend to her."
Yep.
And
Facts.
so she's like, "Oh, snap." So she actually gets up, goes over, and even though she has no idea what to do, has to stop the machine, which, why didn't she use magic? We don't know.
So true.
But it makes for a good, funny sitcom scene because it's kind of like the last episode. It gets messy and but instead of chocolate,
so right.
it's yogurt. But yeah, so she goes and she fumbles to try and turn it off. Both of them are slipping and falling everywhere, which I think Jennifer Stone took a nasty fall.
You think so?
When she fell, that did not look like it was a scripted fall. I think she slipped on some yogurt.
Man.
It looked, the way it happened, it looked like it was one of those things that just kind of naturally happens when you're filming and you don't plan to, but at least they used that shot. So it makes it worth it. But it looked like she might have fallen and hurt her hip or something. I don't know.
I want to know what they used. This is so random, but I want to know what they used for the frozen yogurt because I don't think it was real, and I don't think they would use real frozen ice cream, especially because it ends up on Selena's head. I don't think they would do that, and it looked like the consistency was a little different. So I want to know what the prop person had to come up with, or what.
I wonder if, I don't know, I can't say for sure, but it almost maybe was like mashed potatoes.
Ew, I hope not.
Isn't it a thing in commercials that involve ice cream that they actually use mashed potatoes so that it doesn't melt?
I think I've heard of
maybe that's like a rumor or something, but so I wonder if maybe instead of using, you're right, cold frozen yogurt, if they just use some other kind of soft substance. But I don't know what they would use because you got to think what's the most cost effective material.
I don't know.
I
mean, it looked great, but I was like, "There's no way that's real ice cream."
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And as this was happening, I was thinking in my head, now, did they not do something similar to this scene in the movie The Princess Protection Program?
Oh, I think you're right. That does sound familiar.
With Selena and Demi Lovato.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happens.
Because there was a scene in that movie where Demi's character, I think, is working at this local ice cream store or whatever, and the machine ends up breaking.
This is definitely ringing
and
a bell.
Nobody helps her.
Yeah.
They just kind of laugh at her, and I think maybe I also said Alex. I think, and then Selena's character tries to help her, and it just becomes this whole thing. If I'm not mistaken, I do think there is something very similar that happens.
I think you're right.
In the Princess Protection Program, which, by the way, is a great movie too.
It is.
It's just funny that Selena's in both movies, and it happens in both movies.
Yeah. Once everything finally stops and, or once the machine runs out of ice cream, I should say, then they kind of make up and have a little, heart-to-heart moment, and they actually do the little funky...
They do the hat song.
Yeah, they do the hat song again, and once Alex ends up with ice cream on her head. So that was cute to see them, kind of make up. And then Amanda comes back in, and says they have to come up with a story to tell the owners
was
if they
so
show
great.
up.
Justin bolts out and they go, we'll blame him. Alex says, I've been blaming him my whole life.
Exactly. I
That's
love
so
that
great.
moment. That was so good.
And then I'm pretty sure that takes us to the end of the episode. Alex and Harper, they've made up. Nobody has exposed magic. Justin ends up having the jocks on his side.
Yes, ends up kind of somewhat making peace, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, he ends up...
Or chasing off.
Yeah, he chases off Frankie, so all is well.
Yeah, and my favorite in this little end scene is when Harper and Alex are trying to teach... Well, Teresa is wanting to learn the hat dance, and I don't know why, but she is just adding her own spins to everything.
She's adding her...
It's hilarious. Which brings me to the last little bit we do in this episode, which is where we pick our favorite quotes from the episode. And if you don't mind, I'll do mine first, because it's actually from that little ending scene.
Okay.
Teresa is, like I said, adding her own little moves to the hat dance. And Alex says, Mom, don't add your own moves. This isn't the 80s. This isn't foot grease music.
Foot grease. That's nasty.
I know, which obviously
so
she was
funny.
trying to reference both Footloose and Grease.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was hilarious.
Great quote. Great quote.
I love Teresa.
So I'm torn between two as well.
Okay.
But I think this is the one I'm going to go with.
Yeah, give us your real choice, and then I want to hear your runner-up.
Okay, for sure. So the one that I'm going to go with takes place right before Alex actually casts the spell on Harper. So Harper's been hired on.
Okay.
But Alex has realized that she's not that great.
Yeah.
And Teresa's asking, hey, how's it going? How's Harper working out? And Alex is, it's going so well. You just won't believe it. Harper's doing so great. And then Harper says from across the...
Yes, I know exactly what you're doing. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Harper says from across the restaurant, she says, how much coffee do I put on this coffee cake? And Alex has to play it off like, that's just something that's been... None, Harper, none.
None.
But it was just one of those funny scenes that... Because, of course, coffee cake doesn't actually have any coffee on it. But
Not on it, no.
But
that
it's just
was a great moment.
So that's my quote. But the other one I could have chosen, but number one, it doesn't make sense out of context.
Okay.
But also is another Justin quote. And I'm pretty sure I've quoted Justin like more times than I
He's a
haven't.
quotable man.
Yeah, well, his character is one of the funniest. But whenever I think Frankie is trying to, again, take control of his business, or, Frankie's harassing Justin, and Justin tells Chris, who is out of sight, on top of the building,
yes.
who has ping pong balls and water balloons, Justin says, Chris, let them all go!
Yes.
And then you just see a bunch of ping pong balls and water balloons come crashing down.
That was hilarious.
And it's just, in the context of the scene, it's way funnier, but I don't think out of context it's quite as funny. But
it's a solid runner-up, though.
So I'm going to go with how much coffee do I put on the coffee cake
Good
by
choice.
Harper.
Good choice.
And then if I had to just kind of mention one last thing about this episode, as we're kind of wrapping up, there actually is a couple of foreshadowings
Okay.
in this episode.
Tell us about it.
So at one point, Jerry mentions being a coach, or I think Alex mentions that Jerry is a coach.
Yeah.
He's a good coach. He's like, you know what? I am a good coach.
Yeah, well, she said from all your coaching. And,
Yeah.
and I actually was wondering about that.
Yeah, so we actually, in a later episode, find out that Jerry is Justin's baseball coach.
Oh.
And we see Justin play baseball, and we see Justin's dad coach. We see Jerry coach.
Wow. I don't remember that. I know I've seen that, but I'm excited to see it again.
It's a really good episode. It's one of my favorite, and I cannot wait to get to it. It's called The Supernatural. It's one of my absolute favorite episodes in season 1.
Wow. It's actually not ringing a bell right now, so I'm excited to get to it so we can rewatch it.
Yeah, me too. So that's the episode where we see Justin's dad coaching. There's one foreshadowing, and then obviously Justin, we see him tutoring.
Yes, that's definitely foreshadowing.
And then later on in the series, he becomes a tutor of
full-on teacher,
a class
pretty
of
much.
delinquents from WizTech.
Yeah.
So there's a couple foreshadowings that, I don't know if they were that intentional or not,
Yeah,
but
that's a great point,
just
though.
they're there, and there they are.
Justin's always been a good teacher.
He's always been a good teacher. Apparently, Jerry's always been a good coach.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that pretty much wraps it up for episode 4 of Wizards of Waverly Place. If we missed anything, or if anybody listening has any other thoughts or comments to offer, please leave your comments. This is obviously YouTube. We don't bother with Spotify or anything like that. We want your comments, and we want to be able to know what you guys are thinking. So comment on YouTube, and then definitely follow us on the Instagram page at the Wizard's Lair Podcast. I believe that is it. Yes, it is at the Wizard's Lair Podcast. That is our handle. So be sure to follow us on Instagram and then subscribe if you're watching on YouTube.
Yes.
And we will see you in episode 5 of the Wizard's Lair Podcast, breaking down episode 5 of Wizards of Waverly Place. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Xander.
My name is Daphne. We'll see you next time.